welcome to our September 14th meeting of the Troy Planning Commission. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers.
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
Mr. Wolke.
Here.
Mr. Titterington.
Here.
Mr. McGarry.
Here.
Mrs. Mahan. Here. Mr. Force.
Here.
All members of council are present.
From Commission or President.
I'm sorry, from the commission, not Mr. Council.
That's the first mistake in 5 years.
Oh, yes.
Okay, we have our minutes that have been disseminated for our meeting of August 10th. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes?
Move they be approved.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They stand accepted. We're going to move our agenda around a little bit because staff has to leave early for some odd reason, I'm not sure why. Item number 4, let's start out with that. The historic district application of 120, 22, and 24 West Main Street and some lots on Plum Street. Go ahead, staff, have a report.
Yes, we do. The property owner, Veros LLC, is, the applicant then is Judith Tome, who is Veros LLC, is coming before the Planning Commission to get approval to do exterior renovations to the building located at 120, 122, 124 West Main Street, and then 3, 5, and 7 South Plum Street. It's all the same building, just different addresses. This application was actually heard back in 2006 and was approved by Planning Commission at that time. It's the exact same colors that were proposed back then. And as you can tell from the report, there's a lot of colors being, I mean, it's a lot to just talk through. So if you want me to go over each elevation and what's being painted each color, I will. But as you see going around, those are the colors.
Were all these colors and all the changes being requested approved by the Planning
Yes.
Commission in 2006?
Yes.
Is there anything in addition to that request from 2006 in this request?
Okay, yes. There
Why don't you
is,
hit those?
okay, there is an area of the roof that they are repairing, but it's being repaired with in-kind material, so it really doesn't need Planning Commission approval, just a note to the, that that's happening. And then also on the Plum Street side, under the windows, which are kind of in the middle of the building, they are going to be repairing some brick down at the bottom of the building that they'll be taking out old mortar and tuck pointing the brick again, and just repairing those with similar colored brick. So it'll look the same. That really doesn't need Planning Commission approval either. It's just more of a note on the report. Staff does recommend approval as the colors were previously approved by Planning Commission in 2006, and the colors are compatible with the building. It looks good on the building now.
Regardless of our action in 2006, would this still stand muster under today's?
Yes.
Okay, and your recommendation would be the same?
Yes.
Any questions of staff?
It's very detailed.
Move for approval.
Second.
There's a motion and support for the motion. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Wolke.
Yes.
Mr. Titterington.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan. Yes. Mr. Force.
Yes.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes.
It is approved.
Next, we're going to step up to number 3, the historic district application 131 South Market Street. Does staff have a report?
Yes, thank you. Applicant has come before you requesting permission to install 2 different signs. One is a wall sign, and one will be what's considered a roof sign to the location at 131 South Market Street. If you've been past the location recently, here on the corner of Market and Canal, there's been quite a bit of work being done to that building, which was approved previously by Planning Commission as far as bump out in the porch, paint, windows, things of that nature, along with a handicap ramp on the south of the building. They're proposing installation of a roof sign that will be externally lit. Renditions are provided in your packet as to color and location. The light bar is a very thin aluminum bar that will go across and shine up onto the sign, virtually be invisible. The wall sign will be on the south side facing Canal Street. She is allowed up to 100 square feet total of signage because of having two sides. This is just a little over 50 square feet at 52.2, so she does meet the sign code as far as size, location. Everything's been reviewed with the exception of what you may impose, and staff does recommend approval.
Any questions of staff?
Yeah, I have a question.
Of course.
That, excuse me, that's lit sign, will that be lit all night long?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it will be on time.
It'll be a soft light?
Salt light, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions of
Keep you
staff?
up at night?
Pardon?
Will that keep you up?
You want to keep me up?
Me neither.
Too far away.
If there's no other questions of staff, may I entertain a motion?
So move. Approval?
Motion to approve, is there support for that motion?
Second.
Motion is second, any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
It's approved.
Okay, next to come before the commission is a matter that we tabled at our last meeting. This is concerning the amendment of the zoning code for citywide ban on marijuana retail dispensaries, cultivators, and processors. Is there a motion to take this matter off the table for further discussion? There's a motion to take it off the table. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. McGarry. Please call the roll.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke? Yes. It is removed from table.
Okay, the next matter is to go ahead and determine whether or not we want to have a public hearing on this issue. Any discussion on that?
Will the council be, council have to hold a public hearing?
Yes.
I would move that we not hold a,
Okay, there's a motion to dispense with the need for a public hearing of the planning commission. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Affirmative vote then dispenses with the public hearing at this level. Please call the roll.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke? Yes. Mr. Titterington?
yes.
The motion is passed. The commission will not hold a public hearing.
Okay, next is an issue of whether or not we want to recommend a matter to council. Do staff have a report?
Yes, we do, thank you. Since not all of you were here at the last meeting, I'll briefly go over kind of the past report. Essentially, in June, Ohio became the 25th state to enact legislation allowing for medicinal use of marijuana. There are many aspects to this chapter, which is now in the Ohio Revised Code. There's two that really affect zoning for municipalities. One is it authorizes the legislative body to prohibit or limit retail dispensaries, cultivators, and processors. And two, it automatically puts into place through the adoption that they cannot be located within 500 feet of a school, church, public library, playground, or park. This ordinance went into effect on September 8th of this year. And council, knowing that was coming, went ahead and on July 18th and approved ordinance 036-2016, which was basically a 180-day moratorium on granting permits allowing these types from coming. This gave us a chance to discuss this. At the last meeting, we talked about banning all three of those altogether. After some discussion, we decided to open that back up. And what staff is recommending now is that essentially we do a citywide ban on cultivators and processors, but then we limit the number of retail dispensaries throughout the city under what we'll put as three conditions. One is they're located only within the B1, B2, and B4 districts. Location would not be permitted within the B3, which is your central business district, and the locations are not permitted within the historic district, regardless of what those zoning districts are. That is the recommendation from staff, and that is what we're requesting you to discuss and approve to City Council.
What was the discussion between staff that changed your mind to from not permitting any of those to not permitting the cultivation and processing?
Some of the thoughts that we had, and there was discussion, not with just staff, but with the planning commission at the meeting. Some of it was business-related opportunities for citizens who need to use this for medical purposes would have the ability to obtain that here in the city instead of driving elsewhere outside, far away to get those, once we cannot control what other cities will do, and who knows where the nearest dispensary would end up.
Any other questions of staff?
As I understand it, there are currently 5 pharmacies within the city of Troy, is that correct?
That's correct.
And none of them would be inhibited from the sale based on the provisions of this recommendation, is that correct?
That would be correct. The only thing I would want to verify first would be the 500 feet away. I'm pretty sure they're all outside of those parameters.
But none of them are in the historic or B1?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, none are in the historic district.
But they, and so they could be one of the 5, is what you're saying, they could apply for one of those.
You'd have to take a look too, is whether or not the Lincoln Center has a school. Because they
Yeah, I don't
would
think they
like-
qualify as an educational center.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think
think-
so.
CVS would not be able to be a dispensary because the church that's on the corner of Sherman and Ash.
Yeah.
Okay, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
And that's state law?
Yes.
Yes. But there is a question as to whether or not they would even apply to be a dispensary because there are some conflicts apparently with the FDA approvals that they need for their pharmaceutical dispensaries.
Well, I'm sure this is going to be a very curious thing for any large pharmacy to deal with since it's still in violation of federal law.
Right. Well, nationally, there have been chains that have said that they're not going to dispense for that reason. It's just not worth it to them economically. Tim, just to clarify on the cultivators and the processors, either one of those, the cultivators, my discussions with the chief and with the staff have been that because we don't know what the state regulations are going to be, we don't know what kind of restrictions and what kind of statewide security measures they might require. There is a big concern from the law enforcement side is how do you secure a major growing operation? I mean, and we've got bigger issues than that. So we'll say that. But on the processing side, I guess in general, since this is a zoning matter, council could consider changing the zoning code at any time for any issue or for any regulation or code measure. But if we did, for example, a major manufacturer came in and they want to, build a building, employ 500 to 1,000 people, we could always revisit this with the council and perhaps do this as a planned development.
Absolutely, it would actually come before this board if that rezoning would take place, the first step.
Which is, which from staff standpoint, I know in our discussions, and as you've seen with other planned developments, that does afford the most control from not only our recommendations to the council, but from the council standpoint as well, because it's not a standard zoning matter. It becomes a planned zoning where we can put requirements and restrictions on it if we see fit.
Well, I'd like to commend the staff and the administration for coming up with what I think is a reasonable alternative.
Tim, I have a question on the front page of your memorandum, down where it says the bullet point zoning. It says it authorizes the legislative authority of the municipal corporation to prohibit cultivators, processors, retail dispensaries, or laboratories from being located. Okay?
No, that's not what it says, I'm sorry.
Doesn't-
Well, that's
The first bullet prohibits
Oh, I'm sorry.
all but labs. The second one says a lab can't be within that 500 feet.
Was there a reason, are we
Lab-
limiting labs?
Yeah.
The state does not allow us to prohibit labs,
Coach, okay, that's what I was looking at. All right.
provided that lab is part of a some kind of certification through a
Yeah, they have a process.
higher
before they have to get
education or something. You have to be,
licensed from.
Thank you.
you have to apply.
Any other questions of staff? Mr. Force?
I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly. The dispensaries, what you're saying is that Walgreens was able to prescribe that tomorrow, they could. That's not a 180-day moratorium on dispensing, right?
No, the moratorium is already set on there. When the moratorium would expire, if council would approve this, then they could dispense that after that moratorium.
So the 180 days covers all three items.
No. The 180 days is while we're having this discussion right now. Council passes something within the 180 days, then that moratorium expires at that point. So as soon as this becomes effective, then this becomes a law. You don't have to wait the 180 days as part of the moratorium anymore. Moratorium was to give us enough time to work through the issue and come up with what we wanted to recommend and what the council wanted to pass. So if they pass it within the 180 days, which is what we were aiming for, then the moratorium
Oh.
goes away.
Okay, so, but it still covers all three items until they
Yes,
pass
that's
that.
correct. That's correct.
Okay, but what are we going back to council with the recommendation is what you stated there, that the 5 dispensaries is okay and not cultivating or processing in the city?
If that's what staff is asking, yes.
Okay.
So is that a motion, Tom, or just clarification?
Well, right now it's clarification in my mind,
Okay.
okay?
Any other clarifications or questions of staff?
You know, it should be noted that all the media has been looking into this pretty heavily, and the medical community is weighing in on this with some issues and concerns about needing more clarity as to what the rules, regs, and policies are going to be for the future. You know, and they're not feeling comfortable. So before, I would bet before, not bet, but I would think before something happens, the medical community is going to have to get behind this, and the pharmaceutical community is probably going to want to know what is it that we're required, or what is the limits, or what is the action that we need to be understanding. So I think a lot of that right now is up in the air. So I think what we're doing is trying to be a little proactive, but still step back and wait and see what the state's going to come out with. Pretty clear, I've even heard up to 2 years it's going to take for any kind of decisions made at that level as to how this would come about. So all we're really doing with the staff recommendation is saying, okay, let's look at where we are and what's available if we go that way, but it can change, right? As I understand it, Tim, the zoning, you know, we can make a recommendation now, but council could come back later once all this kind of shakes out. And
Any piece of legislation, it can always be revisited, and council
Right.
could make changes. Mhm.
I agree with Larry. I think, you know, we've listened and tried to at least made a recommendation that we think we could, at least at this point in time, live with.
So is that a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation that's presented and to give that to council, share that with council.
Or to recommend the
To
recommendation.
recommend the recommendation to go to council. I think that's
Second.
what I said.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Who did the second?
Mr. Wolf,
Thank you.
please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mr. Forrest,
Yes.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Wolke,
Yes.
Mr. Titterington,
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Okay, motion is adopted.
Does staff have anything further to come before the commission?
Just one quick item, just want to make sure that everybody got their handout, the 30th Annual Planning and Zoning Workshop, which will take place Friday, December 2nd. In years past, we've always offered to carpool. If there are interested individuals, then let me know, I'll sign you up.
Thank you. Anything else? The commission members have anything they want to discuss? Hearing nothing, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.
Oh, that is good.